Yo, it's Dr Dubplate here. I'm here with Music Radar to talk about my record label ec2a. So a dub plate is essentially like you said, it comes from sound system culture, and it comes from a culture of sound boys that had like this one track that none of the other sound boys had, and it was a way of you bringing like something completely unique and different to the dance. So like obviously this is a massive part of like, you know, the UK dance music culture, especially when we look at like jungle and dubstep and things like that. So I think and just to give it a bit more context, I remember growing up, like when I was at uni, I remember like the Rinse FM days, like Swamp 81, where you'd hear a dub and there'd be a like little SoundCloud rip that you'd obsess over for like months at a time. And to be honest, there's some that I've never even heard to this day. So like for me, it was just an interesting way to put out tunes that we knew we were never going to be able to clear, and make them accessible in the form of a limited run. And also like at the time where the label started, there was a massive shortage of vinyl. So like the logical thing to do was to do these more like limited run lathe cut dub plates, because, you know, the whole Discogs and collector culture around having a tune that no one else has is like massive in dance music. And I was like very close to Jake and Chris from Green Cuts, who do all of our dub plates. And actually, funnily enough, when I was coming up with the idea of the label, they were like, why don't you just run dub plates of stuff? Like, you'd be able to put out whatever you want, regardless of if it has a sample or whatnot, and we can bang them out. So like, instead of only being able to do 1 or 2 releases a year, it opened the doors to being able to do like 12 to 15 in a year. And especially when you're trying to plug smaller artists, it's a lot more convenient for them, because, you know, they weren't at the mercy of having to wait like 6 months to a year to get out their music. And so much can change in that time anyway, like sonically, in terms of what is, you know, trending or whatever, that it made a massive difference, and I think really helped elevate all of the artists that we were releasing, as well as the label. It set out pushing the UKG thing, because at the time, you know, there was a scene of us, you know, so like Interplanetary Criminal, Main Phase, DJ Cosworth, Bluetooth, like there was a real solid community of us just pissing about, having fun basically. And naturally, like, we all gravitated towards it because it felt really new and exciting. A lot of us, like, I'm 31, and we'd all been involved in music for a while, but like it seemed really exciting, that scene at the time. But we've all got a really rich understanding of the music that came before that. Like, I love my house music. So I think the natural progression has been to like try and embody all of that. Like, some of my most inspiring periods, like music wise, has been like, you know, the beginning of Hessel Audio, the Swamp 81 era. So I've wanted to kind of like move it, and for it to be seen more as like a UK dance music label. So like, whether it's, you know, garage or dubstep, like I want it to like embody it all. So like, sound wise, I would say it's quite varied, but the sort of vibe and energy that the tracks we have, I feel are like very coherent in that sense. The labels always started out trying to showcase more emerging talent. Like that's the main ethos of the label. And all of the lineups essentially are people that have played a pivotal part in the you know, the growth of the label, as opposed to like focusing on old legends and things like that. I think it really made sense to like showcase what we do and, you know, offer something a bit different, because I mean, at the moment it feels like the scene's in a place where like maybe promoters are a bit too reliant on like household names instead of embracing the amazing array of like young, super talented producers that we've got. So yeah, I just really put my foot down and was like very adamant that we ensure that it's, you know, in line with all of those ethoses. And then we've got a VA compilation called All Hands on Deck, which is like, again, all artists with a very small profile across the globe. There's artists from Australia, Europe, and the UK. And yeah, again, it's just, I guess, a testament to the whole UKG revival and, you know, how much of an impact it's had globally. Like I've been fortunate enough to travel to Japan, Australia, all these places I never thought I'd even get to see in my life, and see that they're being inspired by the music that we're all making here. So I just wanted to put together a project to sort of highlight that. Yeah, so this is one that I actually get a lot of flack about, because people argue that like doing limited runs is not inclusive, which on paper I totally agree with. But that little statement comes from like when I was trying to get into music, I felt like there was a very big gatekeeper mentality, where like the barriers to entry were very hard and stuff like that. And if you didn't know someone or were deemed cool enough, you were just basically like shunned from being able to like even get involved. So like in many ways that kind of made me bitter towards dance music, because I was like so passionate about it, but felt like people were maybe not giving me the time of day to sort of get involved myself. So it comes from a place of like, listen, if you've got one follower or 10 million, that doesn't matter. Like ultimately what's really important here is the quality of the music. So like essentially it's just a platform that like anyone can be a part of. And more importantly, because I think these days with dance music, you know, like DJs and producers are like superstars, but there's so much more to the ecosystem. Like if you go to a club, there's the sound tech, the people behind the bar, the security, like there's so many people that play a massive part of the overall ecosystem. And it's kind of like trying to embody that sort of sentiment that like, you know, it's bigger than just one person. For me, so things that don't make it interesting is when you can quite obviously hear that the reference point is like things that are currently on trend. So like, for instance, if I get sent a tune with a generic flow down a cappella and like, you know, bang average warps, I feel like even though it might be produced really well, there's nothing exciting because it's been done before. Whereas if I hear a tune where they're pulling from more interesting reference points, it automatically makes it sound more authentic and exciting. So like the main things I look for are like, you know, really interesting productions that showcase someone's reference pool in terms of like the influences that they're drawing from. And I think, you know, it just makes it more exciting when you hear something that you think you haven't heard before, you know, and really merging the lines between or blurring the lines between like different influences. Because these days we've had access to it all, whether it be garage, techno, dubstep, you know, whatever it is. So like when I can hear like elements of dubstep on a 4/4 with like, you know, the sound design of like a drum and bass tune, like not saying that that's something that's ever been sent, but like these are the things that really excite me and like draw me towards a demo that I hear. Definitely Yems. She's incredible as a producer and a DJ, as well as having like an awesome energy. And she's really exciting because the point that I made just before, in her productions at the moment, you can hear elements of Amapiano, Afrobeat, UK garage, techno, and it's like a true testament to like her embracing all of this amazing music that she soaked up over the years, but like doing it in a fresh and exciting way that feels true to her. I'd also say N40, producer from Nottingham. Same thing again, really talented, making some amazing music that's like really blurring the line between a lot of, you know, different genres. And then ESC, another super talented producer who's currently living in London. But like, honestly, that is a very hard question because like at the moment, I've never seen so many like producers under the age of like 23 making tunes that like even some of my peers at like 30 are making, you know. It's a crazy time to be alive, and I think I could sit here and list off so many producers that are ones to watch. Do you know what? I got asked this question the other day, and my answer was Kerry Chandler. And I think I'd have to back it and say Kerry again, just because I think he's influenced so much music or like sounds that we like enjoy today. And as a DJ, he's always been like pushing the boundaries, you know, with like the tape, like sets that he does. I don't know, like, and he's had a solid career of like nearly 30 years or something. And, you know, he's still on the circuit smashing it out. So like, you know, for me as a DJ, that's like, you know, goals and what I look up and aspire to be like. So like a back-to-back with Kerry would be like a massive one for the bucket list. So I've got two Technics, but they're currently here in the office. And I've got a two 3000s and an A9 mixer because I'm just like, I'm a 900, a DJM 900 boy. And I think the A9 is just like a pimped out gangster version of the 900 basically. It's a weird one. So like, I feel like where dance music has become such a massive deal and, you know, like so many people want to go to clubs, I think the people that are really suffering from this are these grassroots venues, because with the rise of like TikTok culture and social media, I think naturally the youngsters only like they see these big room, like boiler rooms, like these are the places that they want to go to, but really nothing exciting happens in a 10,000 capacity venue, like where the stage is like 2 miles away from the crowd. I think like the real innovation always comes from these small underground venues, like just like Forward at Plastic People cultivated a whole dubstep scene of artists that are now like considered legendary. So I think as an artist myself, because, you know, I played, you know, your warehouse projects and, you know, these bigger shows, I think you really just got to find a fine line between playing these big shows, but then also remembering our roots, why we did it, all of the amazing parties that have inspired us to be where we are currently, and just, you know, accept lower fees, work with these venues, because I dread to think a time where the only clubs you can go to are 3,000 cap venues. You know, it's like, it's not that exciting. Like, some of my fondest memories have always been in like a Timbuktu, or like, you know, which isn't here, unfortunately, a sign of the times, but like these are the venues that like I like, they're like core memories, and like it, without them, I could even argue, would I be doing what I'm doing right now? So I just think like we really need to have an honest conversation, all of us, artists, agents, venues. So like big venues, you know, like not being so harsh on exclusivity clauses, because, you know, if it's a 200 cap venue, is it really going to affect your sales that much? You know, there's only 200 people that can go, and you've got like 10 headliners on one day. Agents, you've got to accept that, you know, you can't be charging the same price for a 4-5 cap venue as you are a 300. And artists, pushing your team to ensure that they know these are things that you want to do. And I think if everyone is just a bit more upfront and has honest conversations around these, like, we can protect some of these spaces that we all hold so closely to our heart.